You check your bank account on the 27th of the month, and for a second, you just stare at it. Not in shock, not in panic. Just this quiet, hollow feeling, like you already knew, but were hoping you were wrong. You made decent money this month. You didn't buy anything crazy. You didn't splurge on a vacation or blow it at a casino, and yet somehow, there's almost nothing left. That feeling, that quiet confusion, that's one of the most common financial experiences people have, and almost nobody talks about it honestly, because it doesn't feel dramatic enough to complain about. It's not a crisis, it's just a slow drain, and you can't quite figure out where the water is going. My name is Marcus, and in this video, I am going to show you exactly why your paycheck keeps disappearing before the month is over. Not the version that sounds good on paper, but the version that actually reflects how real people think, feel, and behave with money. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We put out new videos every week that are designed to make you think differently about money, not just manage it better. And if this video helps you see something clearly today, a quick like goes a long way. Now, let's get into it. Most people think the paycheck problem is a math problem. You earn a certain amount. You spend less than that. And you're fine. The formula is simple. The execution is where everything falls apart. And so, the typical advice sounds reasonable enough. Make a budget, track your spending, cut the subscriptions, stop buying coffee. You've probably heard all of it. You might have even tried all of it. But here's the thing. If the problem were just math, budgeting apps would have solved this by now. Millions of people use them, and millions of people are still broke at the end of the month. So what's actually going on? The real issue isn't that people don't know the numbers. It's that human beings are not wired to be rational about money. We never have been. And the modern world has been specifically designed to take full advantage of that. There's a concept in behavioral economics called present bias. It basically means that our brains treat rewards right now as far more valuable than the same reward in the future. $100 today feels more real, more urgent, more alive than $100 6 months from now, even though logically, they're the same amount of money. This isn't a flaw. It's ancient wiring. Your brain evolved in an environment where, if you didn't eat the fruit today, something else would eat it tomorrow. Saving made no sense then, but it can quietly ruin you now. And here's where it starts to get interesting, because present bias isn't working alone. Think of your spending life as a bucket. Every paycheck fills that bucket, and the goal, theoretically, is to keep some water in there. Save a little. Build something over time. But most people's buckets have holes, lots of small holes. And the tricky thing is, you barely notice any single hole. Each one seems harmless. It's only when the bucket is empty again that you realize how much has quietly dripped out. These holes have a name. Financial experts sometimes call them spending leaks. And they're different from your obvious big expenses. Your rent, your car payment, your groceries. You know those are there. You've made peace with them. The spending leaks are the other things. Let me give you a real sense of what I mean. Say you pay for a streaming service you use once a month. That's maybe $15. A gym membership you kept meaning to cancel? $20-something. A few impulse purchases on your phone late at night? Maybe $40 spread across a week. A subscription box you forgot you signed up for. A few too many delivery fees because cooking felt exhausting. Some extra spending on weekends because you had a rough week and you deserved it. None of these feel like decisions. That's the key. They feel like background noise. But add them up over 30 days, and you might find $200, $300, even $400 that you genuinely cannot account for. And here's the deeper layer, the one that most budgeting conversations completely miss. A lot of that spending isn't really about the thing you're buying. It's about how you feel. Research in consumer psychology consistently shows that stress drives spending, not luxury spending, not conscious splurging. Quiet, almost invisible spending. The kind you do when you're tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally depleted. Scientists sometimes call it ego depletion. The idea that making decisions all day long wears down your mental reserves, and by evening, your ability to resist small purchases is genuinely compromised. You're not weak. You're just running on empty. There's also something called retail therapy, and while it sounds like a joke, it's a documented pattern. Spending money creates a brief neurological reward, a small hit of dopamine, a momentary sense of control in a life that might feel otherwise chaotic. You're not buying the thing. You're buying the feeling the thing gives you, even if that feeling lasts 12 minutes. And then there's social spending, the birthday dinner where you quietly cringe at the bill but smile anyway. The round of drinks you didn't really want to buy but felt the invisible pressure of. The family visit where you spent more than you planned because you wanted to feel generous, capable, taken care of. We rarely talk about how much of our spending is actually emotional labor, but it is. So here you are, carrying stress from a job or a life that asks a lot of you, making hundreds of small decisions every day, getting nudged constantly by apps, ads, and algorithms designed by very intelligent people whose job is to get you to spend. And you're supposed to? What? Just be disciplined? I'm not saying that to let you off the hook. I'm saying it because understanding the actual enemy changes everything about how you fight it. Here's the turning point I want you to sit with. Most of us approach money the way we approach diets, with rules, with willpower, with a kind of low-grade guilt every time we slip. And just like with diets, the problem with willpower is that it runs out every time, no exceptions. The people who are genuinely good with money, not the ones who are just lucky, not the ones who earn so much it doesn't matter, but the ones who actually build something over time on a regular income. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. They set things up so that the right behavior happens almost automatically. The savings transfer goes out the day after payday, before they ever see that money in their checking account. The subscriptions get reviewed once a quarter, not once a year. The spending on things that bring them real joy is actually planned for and guilt-free, because it's budgeted, not accidental. They've separated intentional spending from reactive spending. And that distinction? It's everything. Intentional spending is when you decide, with a clear head, that this thing is worth this money. Reactive spending is when you buy something because you're tired, stressed, bored, or socially pressured. Both might cost exactly the same amount, but only one of them actually gives you what you wanted. When you start noticing which of your purchases were intentional and which were reactive, not to punish yourself, just to notice, you'll start seeing your money differently, not as something that keeps escaping you, as something you're actually in a relationship with. So what do you actually do with this? The first thing is to find your leaks, but gently, not as a punishment exercise, but as a curiosity exercise. Go back through your last month of spending and look for things that surprised you. Things you forgot you bought. Things you bought but didn't really enjoy. Don't spiral into shame. Just notice. Awareness is the first tool and it costs nothing. The second thing is to create a small amount of friction around reactive spending. Not a wall, just a speed bump. Some people use the 24-hour rule. If you want to buy something that isn't planned, you wait until the next day. Most of the time, the urge passes. Not because you're disciplined, because the feeling that created the urge has moved on, and you just didn't feed it. The third thing is to automate one saving behavior, even a small one. Even $20 a month, moved automatically into a separate account on payday, is more powerful than you think. Not because of the amount, but because of what it does to your identity. It makes you someone who saves, and that shift in how you see yourself changes how you make decisions going forward. Research in behavioral science calls this identity-based habit formation, and it works. The fourth thing is to start understanding your spending triggers. For some people, it's stress. For others, it's boredom or loneliness or social anxiety. Once you know what actually drives your reactive spending, you can address the root, which might be a walk, a conversation, 10 minutes of quiet, rather than a purchase that doesn't fix anything. And finally, give yourself permission to spend intentionally without guilt. A budget that has zero room for joy doesn't work long term. If you love good food, plan for it. If you love travel, save for it specifically. The goal isn't to spend less on everything. The goal is to stop leaking money on things that don't matter so you can spend freely on the things that do. Money doesn't disappear because you're bad at this. It disappears because no one ever sat you down and explained what's actually happening. The psychology, the design, the invisible pressure. Once you understand the real reasons, you stop blaming yourself and start building something smarter. And the wild thing is, you don't need to earn more to start feeling more in control. You just need to see your own patterns clearly. That shift in clarity, that quiet, oh, that's what's been happening, is where everything starts to change. If this kind of conversation helps you think differently about money, then this channel was made for you. We go deeper on these topics every week, not surface-level tips, but the real reasons behind why people struggle and what actually shifts things. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if this video gave you even one thing to think about, a like takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps more people find this content. And I want to ask you something. What's one spending habit you have that you know isn't really about the money? Something you do when you're tired or stressed or just trying to feel okay? Let me know in the comments, because I read every single one.